I'm April Boucher. I'm CWI's Director of Quality Assurance, and today's agenda we're going to talk about OPWDD's praise, promoting relationships and implementing safe environment. We're going to talk about person-centered planning, abuse prevention, incidents, incident reporting, and the Justice Center Code of Conduct. OPWDD's praise is designed to engage people in an interesting and meaningful series of activities and learn how to implement praise while at work. Abuse prevention, we're going to talk about different techniques used to help eliminate or prevent abuse from happening. For incidents, we're going to be talking about tracked occurrences, notable occurrences, and situations that are OPWDD and Justice Center incidents, as well as reportable and significant incidents. We're also going to talk about what to do when an incident occurs, who to report it to, when, and how. We're also going to talk about the Justice Center. The Justice Center was created to carry out the PPSNA. It's for agency staff, and all agency staff are required to report incidents. The Justice Center Code of Conduct will also be attached for your review at the end of the training. The Code of Conduct, as you may remember, is a set of standards to govern employees day-to-day with their interactions. The very first part of praise is developing positive relationships. I ask you to think about some of the things that you do in everyday relationships and how to promote the most positive relationships possible with those you're supporting, as well as the colleagues and staff that are around you. Some of the common traits can include showing respect to individuals, being approachable, learning names, being friendly and smiling, making eye contact and being responsive, avoiding using labels and stereotypes when engaging with people, and genuinely being interested in the person and their needs, preferences, and goals. Sometimes it's as simple as asking questions to gain information and show that you're listening to the person. A very common one is asking questions to show whether or not you share a common interest with the person that you're supporting. You might have the common interest of modeling cars, gardening, music, cooking, shopping. There's a wide variety of traits to help you develop relationships. Person-centered planning, the picture here shows it all, is about what the individual wants. Not what we want, what we think is best for them, not necessarily what their parents and team members want and think best for the person, but what's important to the person. Person-centered planning is a collection of tools and approaches based upon a set of shared values that can be used to plan with the person, but not for them. We want to make sure that we're including the individual in the planning process and asking engaging questions so that the process is being guided from them and not us. These tools can be used to help the person think about what is important in their lives now, and also to think about what would make a good future. Person-centered planning looks at the support a person needs to be included and be part of their community. Person-centered planning aims to empower people who traditionally have been disempowered by segregated services by handling the power and giving the control back to them. It focuses on providing thoughtful supports that acknowledge barriers and challenges, but does not allow barriers to become roadblocks to living a self-directed life. Person-centered planning has 5 essential accomplishments that are common amongst person-centered planning approaches. The first one is community presence, and what that essentially is increasing the number and variety of community places the individual knows and uses. Choice is the second one, helping the individual develop and express autonomy in both everyday and life-defining matters through informed choice. The third one is competence, supporting and enabling the individual to participate in meaningful activities. Respect, ensuring the individual develops valued roles and places in the community life. Community participation, creating memberships in the community and ensuring the development of personal relationships and friendships, essentially creating a sense of belonging. You'll see from 10 plus years ago, there is a shift from our services and supports being system-centered, and we're heading towards person-centered. When we were system-centered, it was focused more on treatment and programmatic focus. Today, everything is based upon, and moving forward, will be based upon the individual's strengths and interests and needs. People's plans will be more individualized and not group-focused. The ultimate goal is to help people be members of their communities and to support people to live as independently as possible. We want to help the individuals to develop skills to become contributing citizens. When we were in the system-centered world, people were stereotyped and placed with other individuals with the same diagnosis. There was a heavier emphasis on filling slots and beds for residential placements, and we were more segregated than inclusion. Person-centered planning includes strengths, abilities, needs, and challenges. We're turning people's dreams into reality. If you look at an individual's rehabilitation plan, their ISP, their ResHab plan, their employment plan, any of those supporting documents that go along with their ISP, you will be able to tell from reading those documents what the individual's strengths, abilities, needs, and challenges are. Try to keep in mind that we listen in many different ways. Sometimes it can take weeks, months, or years to properly understand who a person is, how they communicate, how they wish to live, where they want to go in life, and just remember it's a lifelong process. Communication varies from person to person. People communicate with their words and noises, their eyes, and their bodies. We are communicating all the time. It's important to be patient, look and listen, and ask questions. We're going to talk a little bit about person-first language now, and there's just a couple of key messages here. We want to ensure that we're avoiding using stereotypes and labels. Most importantly, it's important to treat and view each person as a unique person. When we're talking about person-first language and talking to people appropriately, it's important to use language and talk to people you would use with your friends and family. Person-first language also includes some information on how we are engaging and words we're using with people. In regards to not using stereotypes and labels, instead of saying one-to-one, we would use the verbiage, I work with an individual who needs supervision. Instead of saying my people, my consumers, my guys, my ladies, we want to simply say the individuals I support. Now for the last one, outing. That's a term that we have been using, it's part of our culture to use the word outing when we're going out into the community. But you would simply say, some of us are going out to the movies. You're going to say exactly what you're doing. When I leave the house on a Saturday morning, I don't say I'm going on an outing to Hannaford. I say I'm going grocery shopping at Hannaford instead of saying I'm going on an outing. Support people to have more choices and control over the lives and the choices they have. The support you provide should be aimed at promoting a life that the person desires with dignity and respect. And you'll see all of the different areas that should carry over into in their life. So we want it to be the same way at home, work, in the community, as well as their relationships. Ability versus disability. For years, all you hear when you're talking about a person that we're supporting is, what is their disability? That could be one of the very first questions people ask. We want to focus on what the person's abilities are rather than their disabilities. By focusing on abilities rather than disabilities, we can improve upon positive relationships. Think of some of the things you do day in and day out with the individuals you support to help support their ability. You might be teaching somebody how to make dinner. Maybe you're teaching somebody how to use public transportation so that they can be more independent with getting to their job. Or it could be somebody wants to go to the mall and not want to rely upon staff to transport them. Support a person to see a movie. Support a person to join a club. Support a person to have a visitor in their home just like you or I would. Make choices on how to help the individual determine how they want to spend their money. One of the things that we want to do is avoid blanket rules. So sometimes, we want to make sure that we don't have a set dinner time for the individuals we're supporting in our IRAs that is based out of staff convenience. If there is a set dinner time, we want to have that be a group decision, and because that's what works best for the individuals. We want to avoid blanket rules such as specific bedtimes for people, specific times they're allowed to have visitors in their home or interactions with neighbors. We want to avoid having rules such as having to leave bedroom doors open while people are in their bedrooms. And one of the most common ones is blanket rules of telephone use. Keep in mind that sometimes guidelines are necessary, but these guidelines should be part of an individualized support plan and only apply to the person that it was designed for. Now we're going to be transitioning over into what we can do to help protect individuals from harm. There are a number of things that you can do as CWI's first line of defense to help prevent harm from happening to the individuals we're supporting. The first thing you can do is know the people you are working with and what their needs are, and be thinking about how you're going to meet these needs at all times. Ask questions if you don't understand something. Review documentation often. Oftentimes what happens is when you start working with somebody for the first time, or it's a brand new person coming in, they just had their intake, we review their documentation that initial time, but may not review it again until 6 months from then when the documentation is updated. Think of the number of people you come in contact with on a daily basis, the number of people you are responsible for understanding what their needs are and how you're going to meet them. It could be very easily crossed with somebody else's, so if you're not reviewing it on an often basis, then there's the opportunity to misunderstand what somebody's needs may be. Supporting your coworkers. It's very important to feel or help others feel that they can approach you should they have questions. It's important to lend a helping hand if you see a coworker struggling. Go to them, ask them if they need to take a break, go to them and see if you can assist them with the task that they're struggling with. If uncomfortable with a situation, it's always important to speak up. It just might be a simple, clarification of something you may not understand, but it's always important to speak up and ask questions. Always be professional. It's very important to remember not to take joking and teasing out of control. This could be with your coworkers, but most importantly with the individuals we support. When you joke in a playful manner with them one day, it might be okay to them, but a couple days later, maybe a week later, is the same joking activity, but it might be offensive to them at that point in time. So it's always important to be professional. In order to protect individuals from harm, there are a couple of key components. We are hoping that you will be able to, after this training, recognize what incidents are. It's important to immediately intervene, report them immediately, keep everything confidential, and complete the necessary required paperwork that goes along with incident reporting. Some of the examples of situations that should be reported include the following: vehicle accidents, and this includes whether or not individuals we are supporting in the vehicle, whether or not you think there's major or minor damage. The second one is tickets. Whether or not you're in a CWI vehicle or on work time, you always want to report tickets. If the ticket occurs during off hours, we ask that you simply contact Human Resources on the next business day to let them know about the ticket you received. If you cannot find an individual, that is something that we want you to report immediately. Choking, whether it's known risk or unknown risk, that is also something that we want you to report. Signs of choking include coughing, blue in the face, a person cannot breathe, talk, and an object or food particle might be coming out of their nose. Injury to an individual. This becomes reportable when the person that is injured requires more than first aid treatment or it seems suspicious. Money or belongings, if any money or belongings, regardless of the amount of value, is missing for any of the individuals, that's something that should be reported immediately. Restraints is another example. Improper use of restraints, use of mechanical vice, manual, which is hands-on using skip techniques, or pharmaceutical, which includes medication that we do not have proper approval for and they're not written in their behavior plan or in doctor's orders. So if somebody has a supine conducted on them and it is not in the behavior plan that is one of the skip techniques that can be utilized and it was not deemed an emergency situation, that is a reportable incident. Putting somebody's wheelchair brakes on so that they can't get away or move from a certain spot is also improper use of restraints. Any suspected abuse or neglect, that is also, some of the examples include hitting, slapping, sexual taunts, ridicule, threats, lack of attention by staff such as failure to provide safe environment and adequate medical care and food. Abusive conduct between individuals. Essentially what abusive conduct between individuals is reporting anything that if a staff person had done it and it was deemed reportable, that is the same situation. We ask that you pick up the phone and call and let us know about the situation. The information that you put in the behavior intervention log is also important so that we can determine whether or not it falls in the category of abusive conduct between individuals. Use of a timeout room or aversive conditioning. Aversive conditioning is physical stimulus intended to cause discomfort or pain to an individual. Staff deliberately and purposely not following behavior plans, habilitation plans, or nursing care plans. So if somebody has a dining plan that requires for their food to be cut up into certain pieces, certain size pieces, and they're not cut up into those size pieces and something negative happens or harm is done to the individual, that would be considered abuse as well. Staff placing someone in an area where they can't get out of and blocking them is also something we would need to report. Deaths, all deaths, whether the cause is known or not, are also reportable. And not reporting an incident is also reportable. You guys have heard by now of New York State's Justice Center for the protections of individuals with special needs. We're just going to talk a little bit about should you need to make a phone call to the Justice Center, what some of the information you will need to have prepared to share with them would look like so that you feel comfortable enough when making that phone call. Questions to expect when reporting an incident. Mandated reporters play a critical role in protecting individuals in their care from abuse and neglect. Your call ensures that all allegations are thoroughly investigated and that steps will be taken to protect those individuals in your support. As a mandated reporter, you will be asked questions regarding the incident. It's important to be prepared to provide all of the information you have regarding the incident. Remember, every staff involved in the frontline supervisor are responsible for making those phone calls to the Justice Center. What do you report? Only report the facts you know, what you saw, what you heard. Remember, if you do not know an answer, it's important not to guess, but just say, I do not know. Take a deep breath and relax. Collect your thoughts and information before calling. You'll be better prepared, the call will go more smoother, and the accurate accounting of the incident will be provided. The Justice Center contact is dependent upon you to provide the facts, and the investigation will serve to connect all the facts for the determination. Information for all calls to be prepared for that you will have to share with them at the time of that phone contact is your full name, phone number, date of birth, and job title. Your provider agency's name and address, so that would be CWI and PO Box 303. They may also want to know the physical address of the location where the situation occurred. They're going to want to know if law enforcement has been contacted and whether or not it is a 911 emergency. Some of the specific details they'll ask you about the incident include the date and the time of the incident, the location of the incident, which could be the bathroom, the yard, the kitchen, the classroom, the hallway. They're also going to want to know who was involved. So you're going to want to provide the full legal names and date of birth of the service recipient. Supervision levels of the individual, and you want to report it exactly as it is stated in the behavior support plan or the plan of protective oversight for that specific location. They're going to want to know what immediate protections were completed. These are usually done in conjunction with the manager. Some of those examples will be you contacted the nurse, you brought the person to the emergency room, you sought medical attention, you called 911, you contacted a supervisor for immediate assistance, staff may or may not have been removed from the program, the individual supported might have been moved to another location, supervision may have been increased, or there might have been staff retraining involved. You're also going to want to provide a detailed description of the incident itself and the impact that it had on the service recipient. One of the additional handouts that we're going to ask you to review again is the Justice Center Code of Conduct. That can be found in your packet of papers to complete and turn back into your supervisor for proof that you reviewed and completed the training. You can also find all the information we spoke about today and CWI's Internal Incident Policies and Procedures on EasyLink under Corporate Compliance Manual Safety Procedures, Individual Protection. You can also find this information on OPWDD's regulation and the incident brochure on CWI's website, which is www.cwinc.org. You can also find all of this information on OPWDD's website. You can see the web address there. And Justice Center also has their own website where you can find all of the Justice Center regulations, and they also have a resource tab on there, and you're going to click on laws and regulations. If you have any questions after you have completed this training, please feel free to reach out to your supervisor, or you can always reach out to me at 793-4700 extension 12123, or you can email me at aboucher@cwinc.org. Thank you very much.